Okay, let me start out with a question. After all, I'm a philosopher. That's what we do. Have you ever done anything wrong? Even when you knew it was wrong at the time? I take that as a yes. Why'd you do that? No, I sound like your parents. Do you remember how you answered your parents? I don't know. Do you remember how amused they were by this answer? And how amused you are when your children answer the same way? There's a philosophical question here. Why do we do what we do? Why don't we do something else? The obvious answer, because we made a choice. We don't have to do what we do. We can choose. And we make hundreds, thousands of choices every day in the sense of doing this rather than that. But making a choice is not just a matter of doing that, but it's also a matter of being the one setting the direction for your life. And by will, do this rather than that because you think that's the right thing to do. Our rationality enables us to reflect on our impulses and decide whether or not to act on those. And historically, the view has been that if we do that, we will, over time, develop deep-rooted, stable moral beliefs, virtues, that will guide us through life and help us make good decisions and withstand social pressure, whatever other people want you to do, and internal pressure, your own temptations. That's really what freedom is all about. However, say that you are a good person. You have good virtues. You have good moral beliefs. You have a good character. That does not, though, automatically produce good behavior. Because human beings, we're also able to act against our own principles, and even to do so without having our conscience kick in and stop us or bother us afterwards. And we do that by neutralizing our own virtues. Not rejecting them, but just saying that, well, in general, I think this is wrong, but right now I think it's right. For some odd reason. But in general, so I have them, but they don't apply right now. Moral neutralization usually starts with the experiencing what we can call moral dissonance. You are tempted to do something you shouldn't do. Ever been there? We don't like to be in the dissonance. We like to solve dissonance. One way to solve the dissonance is not to do it, of course. But we would like to do it. What now? Say you walk down the street and there, suddenly in front of you, there's a $20 bill laying on the ground. Obviously somebody lost it. But there's no one around, so you cannot see the rightful owner. So you have two options now. You can pick it up or not. If you pick it up, you get two other options. You can keep it or not. And not keeping it, that would be trying to give it back to the rightful owner, but there's no one to see there. Of course, you can make the detour to the police station, hand it in, and say, I found this, and hopefully the rightful owner will come and claim it. But that's going to take time. You don't really have the time. It's a detour. And after all, you got this little gift from the universe in your hand. Could be a nice lunch. But you're not a thief. You don't steal money. You think it's wrong to keep money that isn't yours. So if you keep it, even without knowing it, you start this inner dialogue. Where you try to find a good reason for this before you really make up your mind. And what would you say to yourself now? You would say, everybody else would do this. Wouldn't they? And after all, no harm is done or the harm has already occurred. Somebody lost it. I'm sure they're sorry about that. But I'm not going to add any harm to the universe by keeping it. So what you're doing now, you're starting to neutralize your virtues. I'm going to describe 7 different ways in which we neutralize our virtues or moral beliefs. One for each day of the week. So then you can do it afterwards. Or maybe not. Number 1, we have used already. The denial of responsibility. Everybody else would do it. It could be the business person saying that, I'm against corruption, but if you're going to win this bid, we have to bribe someone. But in general, I'm against corruption. It could be the athlete saying, I'm against taking illegal drugs in order to succeed, in order to win. But if I'm going to win this race, I have to do it because everybody else is doing it. So that's just how it is. I don't like it, but that's how it is. Denial of responsibility. Number 2, there's a denying that you really are producing any harm. You keep this money, nobody's harmed by that. Or you lose your suitcase. Somebody stole it maybe. You have 2 cameras. You have one cheap and one very expensive. The cheap one is in the suitcase and the expensive is at home. But what if you kind of do a little bit like this before you make your claim to the insurance company and put the expensive one in the suitcase? No harm done really. Insurance companies, don't they make very much money? Really? And everybody else will do it, wouldn't they? Yeah. And then we have the denial of victim. You hurt somebody. You're not a person doing that really. You're a nice person, but you did it. Said something. And then you tell yourself, but if he hadn't said that, if she hadn't dressed like that, if she had done that, really, he asked for it. She had it coming. Not my fault. Number 4, metaphor of the ledger. I found this money. I deserve this money. I've done so much good for people lately. So this is just what I deserve. I keep it. Rewarded by the universe. I'll have this lunch. Number 5, the claim of necessity. I had no choice. It's very interesting to justify a choice, isn't it? I had no choice. If I'm going to win this race, I had no choice. I had to take these drugs because everybody else was doing it. If we were going to win this bid, I had no choice because everybody else was doing it. Really, had no choice. Number 6, justification by comparison. One of my favorites, really. Other people are doing things that are worse. And so much bad has been done in the world, so that one is always open. It's always possible to find somebody who's done something worse. I grew up with my father. He was a police officer. He's retired now. And people then tend to think that when I grew up, I had a very strict upbringing. Not so, really. Because in his line of work, he experienced and saw and met, extreme violence, brutality, homicide, really bad things. So when I got back home from school, having done my more or less innocent pranks, I was just kind of almost reading his mind, and he was thinking, did he kill anybody? It couldn't be that bad. And the 7th one, postponement. I see this might be wrong, but I choose not to think about that right now. I'm going to reflect on that, when I retire. I'm going to spend the last 10 years of my life, and then I reflect on all those things that were wrong. I'll do it then. Not now, don't have the time. So here we have 7 different ways of neutralizing your own virtues. No, you don't reject them. You keep them in a very nice place. I have them here, but they don't apply right now because, and we do this. So why should we focus on this phenomena, really? What is to learn from it? I think we should focus on this phenomena in order to understand the true meaning of human freedom. Freedom is not just a matter of acting a lot, doing this or that all the time. And it's not just a matter of having good virtues. I'm a great character. I'm a nice person. I have good beliefs. It is trying to connect the two. That's the important thing. And that's the nature of human freedom. Not doing whatever you want. You shouldn't do that, really, really. Think about it. All the things you want, don't do it. Especially not at home, no. I do ethical training for professionals. I'm often asked, then, very effective people, they very practical people, very operative. And they ask me, what is philosophy really all about? And my definition now is trying to understand what you already know. But you know it so well, so we have become unaware of it. Is trying to reflect upon established practice. And that's important. And I invite them to become philosophers, because in their daily work and dealings with the world and the job, they're very effective. It's fast. And I said, well, that's good, but you must also think. Because why do you actually do what you do? You think you're choosing here, but aren't you really just giving in to social pressure, doing whatever other people want you to do? Or aren't you just giving in to your own wants and so forth, your own temptations? Are you really making choices? Try to pay attention to how you justify your actions. That's really at the center of ethics. How do you go about justifying your actions? So I invite them to become philosophers, because I think that's important in the professional world for your reputation, for building trust, for the nature of your relations. It's important to do it. But I think it's important in our private lives too, to do the same thing, at least building trust. So now, I invite you to become philosophers from now on. Look at your justifications. Thank you.